Hey,
Hey.
how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing fine too. And how is everything? How is London this morning?
Yeah, London's all right, actually. We're in lockdown. Hang on, I'm just getting this straight. So
Okay,
we are in lockdown at the moment, so not really doing too much. I'm staying home quite a lot. But I'm
uh,
really lucky because I am able to go to football matches at the moment because that's
okay,
essential work. So I have been
okay.
to a few of the games, which is good.
That sounds cool. I saw your video. I think you were present in City's no Chelsea match. I think it was Man City match, right, against Tottenham Hotspur, right?
Yeah, I think you probably
Okay,
saw me I was at Tottenham against Man City the other day.
Tottenham. Okay. And how was the game?
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy game. I expected Manchester City to win, but Tottenham did a
Wow,
brilliant job. Jose Mourinho just kept it tight, was really patient, very defensive, and then just very efficient on the counter attack. And when you've got
wow,
quality players like Kane and so on, obviously, you're gonna do well, and they did. So I was really
definitely.
impressed with that performance, and particularly a little bit scared actually because I'm a Chelsea fan and Chelsea have Spurs next, and I actually think
Yeah,
Spurs are really
wow.
good. It's going to be really tight.
That's a big one. A lot of headache for your head of that game.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Let's get down to business, Alison. First of all, let me thank you for joining me this afternoon on Instagram. I mean, fans have been looking forward to this, and this is a big one, I must confess. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Do you know, I mean, I love the fact that the Premier League is so global and people all over the world watch it. And when I used to work for the Premier League full time, I did a show called Fan Zone, and we used to
Wow,
have fans phoning in from everywhere, all over the
wow.
world. And you know, sometimes you can get very focused on UK, and I just think it's really nice. You're obviously calling me
Yeah,
from Nigeria.
that's true. That's true.
So it's brilliant, and I've always had a bit of affection for Nigeria as well because being a Chelsea fan and working really closely with John Mikel Obi as well.
Oh,
Uh,
wow,
so
wow.
yeah,
So you know John Mikel will be well, right?
I
Okay.
do. I've watched
Okay,
him
you know
since
what? That,
really
that,
young.
would, that would lead us to the question about Nigeria. I want to ask you this question. I know you have, I mean, a lot of knowledge about a Nigerian football team. First of all, what do you think about Nigerian football team presently?
Say that again.
I mean, what do you think about Nigerian football team presently? What do you think about them? I mean,
Right. Yeah. The
if you
Super
had
League.
to rate them, what do you think
Yeah.
about them?
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, no, it's a tricky one because they're having a really tough time, aren't they? I think you drew to Sierra Leone not that long ago, and I think you went 4-0 up and then ended up drawing 4-all. And I think there's been a few problems with the Nigeria team over the years, and I know
Yeah,
that people have criticised it, and people have said like Nigerian football is dead, which I think is a massive shame because you've got some really good players. I mean, I obviously know the Premier League players like Alex Iwobi,
yeah.
Ndidi, Iheanacho, players like that.
Quality,
Quality
quality.
players, exactly. So it's such a shame, isn't it, when you know that you've got the quality and you're not able to perform. And perhaps I know that Gernot Rohr, I met him actually just around the 2018 World Cup.
World Cup, okay.
Yeah, because obviously having a European manager as well, some people say that that ought to be a good thing, but it just feels like there's a little bit of, I don't know whether it's disarray or there's
Okay.
just not clicking, is
Yeah,
it,
a
right
lot
now?
of questions have been asked right now because right now in Nigeria, and even the Minister of Sport is not really happy with how the event is actually unfolding with the national team. I mean, after that 4-0 draw against Sierra Leone, a lot of question was asked as to the credibility of the coach. But well, fingers crossed. Let's see. Because you talk about quality, they have Kelechi Iheanacho in the team. They have Wilfred Ndidi. You have Alex Iwobi. A lot of guys doing pretty well for their club. Even Joe Aribo, the Rangers player, is in there, but nothing is really happening.
Yeah, it's a shame, and I love them because the Super Eagles, they're so vibrant. So when I was at the World Cup, I was working with Daniel Amakachi, who's a legend
Wow,
of yours, of course, and
wow,
he was so excited about, there was so much build up to this, and you had like the best kit of the football
definitely,
team, and everyone was
definitely,
like,
definitely.
but I think you beat Iceland in the group. I seem to remember 2-0. I think
Yeah,
Rudy
2-0.
goals, yeah.
2-0.
But then you lost to, what was it, Argentina,
Argentina, that
and
late goal by Marcos Rojo.
exactly. So, and then all that promise fell away quite quickly. But I think a lot of people would like to see Nigeria do well, and especially with those group of players.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's see how the team will actually react in subsequent games. Okay, talking about the next question now. I mean, I want you to pick, for example, as a legend, if you want to pick one player that has actually done well for the country as a legend, who are you going to pick? Because we have a lot of players. You talk of a coach, you talk of a Kanuwa. You even mentioned Daniel Abokachi too. I mean, a lot of names to pick from. But who are you going with?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Amakachi, hasn't it? And I mean, to an extent, I've worked with so many Nigerian players over the years. Peter Odemwingie as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, great, really
Fine
nice
player.
guy actually. A very, very nice guy to work with as a pundit. I'm just trying to think who else I would put up there as your legend. I mean, to be honest, I think John McKelobey's been really impressive for them as well.
Is it
Just
because
because,
you're a big Chelsea fan? That's why you're going with John Mikel?
yeah, I'm a Chelsea fan, but he's also been so adaptable. So I know that
Okay.
he was at one point he was playing completely different positions for his club and his country,
And he
and
did really
adapting
well.
so well for such a young player. So yeah, there's just so many I think over the years that you've had that have done brilliantly.
Okay, but presently, who are you going with presently?
Oh, presently, gosh, um, who would I say? Let me have a think.
There's Wilfred Ndidi, don't forget. There
Yeah,
is
Wilfred Ndidi actually, he's been brilliant for Leicester. Yeah, I'm going to go for Ndidi.
Ndidi. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
let's
I
move on.
have
Let's
to
talk
admit, I
about.
don't follow the Nigerian national team as closely as as I would if it was coming up to a tournament. So that's why I was
Okay,
struggling a bit. But yeah, he's a good player.
okay, that's nice. Let's get down to business right now. Let's talk about the English Premier League and the big one, Chelsea Football Club. I mean, before the start of the season, I know you're happy to talk about Chelsea right now. Before the start of the season, Chelsea signed, they signed quite a lot of players and it's quality. You talk of Kai Havertz, you talk of Timo Werner, I mean, Thiago Silva from PSG for free transfer. I mean, these guys are top-notch players. Do you think Chelsea have what it takes to go on to win the English Premier League title with the players they have in their folds right now?
Yes, you heard it here first. I mean, honestly, at the beginning of the season, I would have said no. But
Okay,
I've just been so impressed with the way that these players have just fit into this side. I mean, Thiago
okay.
Silva, he firms up that defence, shores up that defence so well. With Kurt Zuma, they look so comfortable. Ben Chilwell
True,
as
true,
well
true.
on the left has looked so, so good. Reece James, obviously not a new signing, but someone who's just come on in leaps and bounds at Chelsea. Even being picked over as Pilaqueta. So that's just the defence and Edward Mendy in goal. I think also, yeah, and you mentioned, Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. There is just
Yeah.
so much quality that Frank Lampard has picked all over the pitch, so much depth. And it's so good that I also think that Chelsea don't even have necessarily a best starting 11. I think they've got a couple of
So,
different options,
definitely.
particularly in the midfield. You've got sort of N'Golo Kante. You've got
Okay,
Mason Mount, who's brilliant because he knows his job defensively, but he's able to break forward. And we saw that for England as well when he scored.
okay,
And so it's just working so well right now that, yeah, I do think that we're title contenders. I mean, it's early
okay.
days, but we're almost a quarter of the way through the season, right? And Chelsea are
Definitely,
up there.
definitely. But
And
first of all, look at Frank Lampard as a manager. I mean, he's a rookie manager. And of course, you can say he's done pretty well, I mean, lately. But do you think he has what it takes to be consistent with this Chelsea side? Do you think, Chelsea can be consistent until the end of the season?
Well, consistency was a massive issue last season, so it's good that you mentioned that. And I think that sometimes you can worry. Like I watched the game against Rennes and I thought, oh, we've conceded from a corner again. That was the biggest problem last season. But
Okay,
then you've got Olivier Giroud who comes in and scores that winning header. And this is the thing that Chelsea have got players that might not play hardly at all, like Giroud, and he can come in and he's so professional. He can do a job
okay,
and finish it off. And so, I mean, it will be very hard for Lampard to keep hold of Giroud, which is a big test of his managerial quality, because obviously Giroud wants to play for France. Didier Deschamps has told him he's got to be playing regular football.
definitely.
And yeah, so I know he's going to have a really big dilemma. He's going to have to say to him, listen, I'm not going to play you every week, but you're a massive part of our plans. I don't know how that's going to pan out. I
That's
hope.
that's that's a worry for Frank Lampard. And I'm talking about that one now. Before I leave Chelsea, because you have a lot to talk about, I want to make it as quick as possible. And before looking at some other players who always sit on the bench, I mean, there are some couple of players that should start. I mean, how would this affect the momentum of these players right now? For example, imagine a player who have missed 3, 4, 5 games coming in to play another game. Do you think that player will be able to adapt and acclimatize after, missing, that, long stretch of games?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about Chelsea is that we've still got players, like you say, that have still got to come into the side. Like Christian Pulisic's been injured and he's going to
Okay.
come back in. It's going to be really hard for him to get, back in, to be honest. And, we saw Callum Hudson-Odoi for the Champions League do really well.
Yeah.
But when you've got players like Tammy Abraham looking so comfortable and, Werner, he's missed a few chances. Kai Havertz as well has just come back from COVID, done really well. So I do think it's about getting that kind of balance, I suppose, for Frank Lampard. And you're right, he is a rookie manager, but I actually think he's shown his quality so far. And, long may it continue.
Okay. Away from that, okay, talking about Liverpool Football Club, and of course, fantastic side they were last season. A couple of seasons ago, they won the UEFA Champions League against all odds. And of course, the following season, they won the English Premier League, breaking that 30 years dock. Wow, that's amazing. And now this season, Liverpool will be looking forward to defending the championship. So far, the Reds have missed their star men. Alexander-Arnold is out, Virgil van Dijk is out, Joe Gomez is out. And oh my God, how did Liverpool play that game against Leicester and still did not concede? I mean, do you think Liverpool have what it takes to defend the title?
Do you know, it's an interesting one because at the beginning of the season, when they weren't signing really many, I mean, obviously Jota came in and he's done brilliantly, but they weren't making loads of signings like other clubs were. And I thought, well, that's really dangerous because you can't be complacent. And if you have an injury, you'll be in trouble. And as you mentioned, I mean, really big injuries they've had. So obviously, first of all, they have an injury to Alisson. He's out for a while. So that's massive.
Exactly, yeah.
But now they've got Virgil van Dijk, who's so immense at the back. Joe Gomez, Trent Alexander-Arnold, even Jordan Henderson, really key players. So I thought they were going to really struggle against Leicester, who've got their own injury worries. But they did brilliantly. And so I'm thinking, well, you know what, maybe I wrote them off a bit too early. Jurgen Klopp's a great manager. Obviously, they won the league last year, so they've got that kind of momentum behind them. And, such great attacking players as well. So you've got to put them in the mix there with Chelsea. We've already spoken about Chelsea. So, I think that, yes, it's going to be difficult. And the strength in depth, I know Klopp's been complaining about the ridiculous fixtures, and congestion. It is going to be tough, but, they're definitely in the mix.
Okay, away from Liverpool right now, let's talk about Spurs. Jose Mourinho, brilliant performance so far. And of course, remember that Jose Mourinho is well known for his second season performance. He always comes stronger in his second season at every club. I mean, could he finally win Spurs a laurel this season? At least that's what they want. Probably an FA Cup or Capital One Cup title will be okay for you.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And he is a great manager. And I actually think they are in the mix for the title. I mean, they're going to be the sort of the outsider's choice, I suppose. But when they're so high up the table right now, you can't discount them. And as I said, it's almost a quarter of the season already. Also, bringing back Gareth Bale, that was genius. Obviously, Son and Kane have already got this incredible, chemistry between them. They're scoring and assisting, helping each other constantly. And when you've got Gareth Bale in the mix as well, I mean, I don't think he looked particularly good. The times that I've seen him, he's been good, but not the Gareth Bale I remember. Okay. But I don't necessarily think that doesn't mean it won't come this season. He could end up being the hero, right? Okay. But they've got Steven Bergwijn they used the other day, and Lo Celso came on.
Yeah.
They've got in the midfield, like Ndombele looked phenomenal for that pass with Son. Sissoko, and obviously Hugo Lloris, an excellent goalkeeper. There is, I must point out, a huge blow. That City game that I attended, Toby Alderweireld got injured, which is a massive blow for them. Joe Rodin came on, but I think that's going to be a tricky one for Jose Mourinho to manoeuvre over the next few games.
Tricky one for Jose Mourinho. Let's see how he's going to react to that one. But winning the Premier League title, is that possible right now? Because I mean, do you think that they have what it takes to win the Premier League title?
I do, actually. I mean, when you look at the squad, it's incredibly balanced. They've got a phenomenal manager. And, I do. It would be crazy. But we've had, like you said, Liverpool won it for the first time in 30 years. We saw Leicester, in 2016. So it's not... The Premier League is so unpredictable. And it has to be said, this season is a weird one. No fans. There's some fans coming back. We're going to have 4,000, 2,000 fans. Sure. It's weird. Players are going to get isolated. Players are going to get
Definitely.
COVID. Maybe.
Okay, let's see how that's going to unfold. Leicester City Well, they are known as the king of inconsistency. They would always come in, show, oh, guys, we have what it takes to win the title, and suddenly they go off. And of course, it was evident in their last game against Liverpool Football Club. They couldn't score a goal, and Jamie Vardy was on field. What went wrong? And do you think, Brendan, just have to take this side serious right now because Leicester might be missing the Champions League? First of all, do you have what it takes to make the Champions League? Because I don't think fighting for the Premier League is possible right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've always got to put yourself in the position to fight, because particularly when you've got teams like Arsenal and Manchester United not looking quite as good as you would expect from them, you've always got to say that you're in the hunt for the league title, because you just never know if Chelsea and Liverpool and Man City slip up, they've got to be there to pounce. You're right. I mean, Jamie Vardy's been phenomenal this season, just scoring for fun. And I think everyone expected, because Liverpool had all those injury worries, particularly in defence, I think everyone thought Jamie Vardy's going to be, going to grab loads of goals. But obviously Klopp did a really good job in that game. I like Brendan Rodgers, and I do think this Leicester team are really good and have a very good balance. But yeah, they have had a few injury problems themselves. I just think it just wasn't their day against Liverpool. But I do expect them. I think you're right. I think Champions League places is probably where they'll be heading for.
Definitely.
On the end of the season.
Okay. Away from Leicester City, let's talk about Manchester United. They play a different football in the UEFA Champions League and a different football in the English Premier League. In the English Premier League, they won their first home game last weekend. I mean, a club like United, you remember, Alison, remember 10 years ago, you'd always talk about United winning the Premier League, but now you talk about them winning, fighting for the Champions League or Europa League. What has gone wrong? Would you put the blame on Holy right now?
It's such a shame, isn't it, how the mighty have fallen. What's your team, by the way? Who do you support? Do you have a Premier League team?
I support Liverpool.
Liverpool. Okay, great. So I'm happy right now. So Manchester United. I think obviously everything went wrong when Sir Alex Ferguson left initially. He was phenomenal. He knew exactly when the right time to go was, because he could obviously see so many of these players retiring. It was the end of an era, right? And they haven't gone right for those managers, for Van Gaal, for Moyes, everyone. Jose Mourinho's even really struggled there. So it's obviously, it's a difficult position. I like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Obviously, he doesn't have the experience of a top-level manager, but I think he came in at just the right time when Jose Mourinho had. I think that the feeling around the camp wasn't great. And he's obviously he worked with some of the players, some of the attacking players, particularly like Marcus Rashford, Martial, and has really improved them. But I do think that they are a team that are, so far removed from the Manchester United that I'm used to. Like when I used to go to the games regularly, week in, week out for the Premier League, you would always have to hang on to the 90 plus whatever, because you knew Manchester United were going to pull something out of the bag. And it just doesn't feel like that at the moment. It is baffling when you've got a decent, you've got a decent squad, you've got really good players. But I think maybe there's a little bit of a lack of sort of mentality or leadership there at the club at the moment. There's no one really that you kind of would rely on to kind of dig you out of a bad situation. And I think that's going to be a really big problem for them. Okay,
I can see a comment right here. And of course, I can't really pronounce the name 0423. And of course, he said, bad management at Manchester United. We need more veteran players. Well, okay, that's the comment from him. Okay, thank you very much for that one. Moving on away from United right now, let's talk about Arsenal Football Club. Arsenal, after winning the FA Cup title a couple of months ago, they started the season well. And of course, did you ever tip Arsenal to win the Premier League before the start of the season?
Yeah, Arsenal are a strange one as well, because they've, of course, at the start of the season, you have to think that they're there sort of, I suppose, challenging for Champions League places. And then when you look at their players, when they've got Aubameyang and Lacazette, Nicolas Pepe, who, by the way, that was ridiculous what he did the other day to get sent off. And I can imagine if you're an Arsenal fan, you'd be really upset about that. By the way, it's despicable the kind of abuse that he got on social media, though. What can we say? We're used to it, unfortunately, and it's terrible. But yeah, really good attacking players. And always had that shaky defence. I mean, we've been talking about it for years and years and years, and it's kind of same old story. But I really like Arteta. I think he's a great manager. And I think, you might want to call him a rookie as well. But actually, having worked under Pep Guardiola for all that time, I think that really does count for a lot. I know people say that a number two isn't always the same. but you just never know how much influence they have and how much he's learning as well. But again, I know it sounds like a broken record, but we've been talking about inconsistency quite a lot, but Arsenal are one of those inconsistent teams, aren't they?
Okay, okay. And how far do you think Arsenal can go this season? How far do you think they can go?
I think we're just looking at Champions League places for them, to be honest
Champions
with you.
League. Wow.
Nothing higher than that at the moment, yeah.
Okay, fingers crossed. Let's see how far they can go this season. Okay, talking about Manchester City, Pep has spent a whole lot of money. He has signed, big players, but nothing big is happening at City. Don't you think that, it's high time Pep? Because I remember last week, Thursday, he signed a new contract. And after that contract, they lost to Spurs 2-0. What is wrong with City right now? Is it time for Pep to actually leave the club? Or, do you think it's just difficult times they are in?
Yeah, Pep Guardiola is a top manager. And he's shown that over so many seasons in so many countries. What's he won? Like 24 trophies, major trophies. So, yeah. There is nothing wrong with Pep Guardiola. I just think that, teams can go through blips. Just take that Manchester City against Tottenham game the other day. Actually, Manchester City played really well. They weren't able to put away.
They scored a goal too.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think some days it just doesn't go right for you. I don't think, it's a shame because he just signed that 2-year contract, so all eyes are on him. Obviously, everyone wants City to win the Champions League as well, because that's the only thing that Pep Guardiola hasn't really done at Manchester City.
Definitely.
And they're without their best player. Obviously Kevin De Bruyne is phenomenal, but to be without Sergio Aguero as well is a huge thing. So I just think everyone, Manchester City fans, need to kind of just turn the panic levels down a little bit. They've got great players, they've got a fantastic manager. And yeah, it is strange seeing Manchester City so far down the table. It really is. But I actually think that, as I said, it's going to be a very strange season. And if anyone else slips up, they'll come storming back up the table. It's so tight, to be honest. A win is going to send them right, close to the top anyway. So I don't think they're quite as bad as the table suggests right now.
Okay, look at another comment right now. He said, abuse on players need to stop. It's not right. Football players are humans and they make mistakes. Football is serious and not that's serious. Okay, but Arsenal will get the 6th place according to him. And of course, before I let you go, Alison, I know you've got some other things to do right now. Let's talk about relegation teams. West Bromwich Albion, Fulham, and of course, one other team promoted to the English Premier League title. It's looking like West Brom will be relegated this season. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you've got to look at basically the bottom 3 or the bottom 4 right now, and it's going to probably be 3 from that 4. Some people are even talking about, could Leeds get pulled into it? I don't think so. Not with a manager like Bielsa and not with a kind of attacking play. I know that they are very open and they've got to obviously tighten things up, but I have such trust in Bielsa. I think Scott Parker's it's going to be a long season for Fulham. I think when they spent all that money, 100 million last time and went down, they weren't going to make the same mistake again. I think, they've been quite clever. They've made some loan signings this time around, so it's not quite the same kind of spend. But yeah, West Brom are going to struggle. Sheffield as well. Sheffield United, really a shame for them because they're kind of almost like the team that everyone wants to like, the neutral.
Definitely, exactly.
Yeah, but
remember they were
going to be a big.
They were part of the English Premier League team. I think it was 4 or 5 seasons ago, with Osaze Odewingi played for them. So you mentioned him, so
exactly.
Pretty fine.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much.
I've got a funny story. Can I end on my Odewingi story? Because when I was a Premier League reporter a few years back, I was working on transfer deadline day at QPR. And I think everyone knows the story about when Odewingi drove from West Brom.
Very well.
But I was actually the journalist that stopped him. So I saw this car coming along and I was like, that looks like Odewingi. So I went over to the car and I tapped on the window. I was far more confident then than I am now. I don't think I'd do that. And he was there with an agent, I think, or a driver. And basically he wound down his window and I shoved my microphone in the car and said, can I have an interview with you? And I spoke to him about it years later, actually. And he said to me that was one of the toughest times of his whole life as a player.
Yeah,
someone messaged in and said, players don't deserve abuse on social media. Of course they don't. Jordan Pickford, for goodness sake, on Virgil van Dijk, he's getting death threats. He's having to hide security for his family. But the same with Odewingi. He said that you know, he was subjected to so much abuse, people saying, oh, you drove yourself down to
I
sign
remember
yourself,
that well.
which is terrible. And he really had a hard time over that. He said he told me it took him a really long time to get over it. So then I had to apologize because I was the one who basically started it all off. But he said, all is forgiven. So, you know, it's all good.
That sounds interesting, Alison. Thank you very much for joining this Instagram live session this afternoon. In fact, I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure you would join me subsequently some other time.
I will. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed chatting
Okay.
to you. And
All
obviously, you're
right.
incredibly passionate about Premier League football, which is great to see.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Up Liverpool.
Awesome. See you soon. Take care.
All right. Bye. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
I don't know how to do this. How do you end it?
I'm coming. I'm gonna hand it.
Okay.
Okay. Done. Okay, it's a wrap, and that was the chat, the long anticipated chat with Alison Bender, a Premier League journalist. I mean, she's spoken with quite a lot of top football players, managers, and a lot of them, and she's still doing pretty well right now. Okay, you can also join me subsequently. I do this every week. You can join me next week. I'll be speaking with someone else. So for those who joined, gracias. Thank you very much for joining, and it's a wrap.